Do you ever wish you were rich? You're not alone, most people do. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English story. When I was younger, I always wished I had money. I would see people traveling to amazing places, driving cars I could only dream of, or running businesses that seemed so far out of reach. I'd scroll through social media and think, I want that life someday. Maybe one day I'll be rich too. But wishing was all I did. I didn't take real action. I stayed in my comfort zone. I spent hours on things that didn't matter, watching videos, scrolling endlessly, waiting for some magic opportunity to fall into my lap. I told myself, I'll start tomorrow. I just need to prepare a little more. But that tomorrow never came. I remember thinking I had plenty of time. I thought, I'm young. I can figure it out later. Right now, I'll just enjoy life. But deep down, I felt frustrated. I wanted change, yet I kept making excuses. I wanted to be rich, but I wasn't willing to step out of my comfort zone. I didn't realize that wishing for wealth without effort is like standing at a gym wishing you could lift heavy weights without ever training. It just doesn't happen. I watched some people around me who were serious about money. They didn't talk about hoping, or maybe someday. They said, I will be rich. I will do whatever it takes. They worked, studied, and sacrificed. They failed, learned, and tried again. And slowly, they began to create opportunities that others only dreamed about. That's when I realized the difference. Wishing is easy. Commitment is hard. Wishing feels safe. Commitment feels uncomfortable. And I understood something very important. If I wanted a real change in my life, I couldn't just wish, I had to commit. Part 2. The turning point in my life came when I met someone who completely shattered my old way of thinking. He wasn't born rich. In fact, his background was much harder than mine. His family struggled. He didn't have a safety net. And he didn't even have the luxury of waiting until tomorrow. But he had something I didn't. A clear decision. I still remember his words. He said to me, I will be rich. Not maybe. Not someday, I will. And I'll do whatever it takes. At first, I thought he was being too bold. Honestly, I almost laughed. To me, it sounded unrealistic. How could someone so ordinary say that with such confidence? But then I watched how he lived. And that's when I began to see the difference. He woke up earlier than everyone else. While I was still in bed scrolling on my phone, he was already at his desk, reading, learning, or working on a small project. While most of us complained about how tired we were, he treated discipline like oxygen, non-negotiable. He didn't waste his evenings. He used them to build skills, meet people, or plan his next step. He failed a lot too. I saw him lose money on a small business idea. I saw him rejected when he tried to pitch his plans to people. Sometimes he looked tired, even discouraged. But here's the part that impressed me. He always got back up. He didn't see failure as the end. He saw it as training. Every failure teaches me something, he said once. And every lesson brings me closer to my goal. And slowly, it worked. Little by little, I saw his life start to shift. Opportunities that never came to me started appearing for him. People trusted him because they could see how serious he was. His mindset attracted possibilities. That's when I realized something important. He wasn't lucky. He wasn't even smarter than me. The difference was that I just wanted to be rich, while he had decided to be rich. Wishing made me passive, but his commitment made him unstoppable. It hit me hard. I started asking myself tough questions. Am I really serious about changing my life? Or do I just like the idea of being rich? Am I willing to wake up earlier, learn more, risk failure, and sacrifice comfort, or do I just want the reward without the effort? Do I want to live my life wishing? Or do I want to live my life deciding? Those questions shook me. And that night, for the first time, I admitted to myself that I had been hiding behind excuses. I had been waiting for the perfect time to start, but the truth is, there is no perfect time. The perfect time never comes. So I made a promise to myself. No more someday.
No more, maybe.
I wasn't going to wait until I felt fully ready. Because readiness is an illusion. I told myself, I will start now. Even if I'm only 60% ready. Even if I fail. Even if it's uncomfortable. That decision may sound small, but it was the first real step toward a new life. Part 3. After I made the decision to commit, life didn't suddenly become easy. In fact, it was the opposite. That first month was a shock. I had finally left the safety of my comfort zone, and suddenly, I was facing challenges I had never dealt with before. I remember waking up at 5 a.m. for the first time, feeling exhausted and wanting to quit. I told myself, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I should just rest. But then I remembered the person who had inspired me. He didn't wait for motivation. He acted even when he didn't feel like it. I forced myself out of bed. Every day felt like a battle. I had to learn things I had ignored for years: basic finance, investment strategies, marketing, networking. At first, it was confusing. I felt like I was drowning in information. I made mistakes, big ones. I lost money on small investments, misunderstood advice, and sometimes felt humiliated when things went wrong. But here's the strange thing. Even though it was hard, I started to notice small wins. A connection I made led to a small opportunity. A lesson I learned from a failed project saved me from making a bigger mistake later. Slowly, but because of consistent effort. I also noticed a mental change. Before, I had been afraid of failure and judgment. I worried what others would think if I worked hard and didn't succeed immediately. But as I committed, I realized that discomfort is part of growth. I started to embrace failure as a teacher and criticism as a tool. I stopped worrying about how I looked to others and focused on how I could grow. Commitment also changed the way I spent my time. I stopped wasting hours on things that didn't matter. I started treating my energy like a valuable currency. Every hour I spent learning, planning, or taking action felt like an investment in my future. And the amazing thing? The more I invested, the more doors started opening, small at first, but real. By the end of that first year of serious commitment, I wasn't rich yet, but I was no longer wishing. I was doing. I was learning, failing, adjusting, and moving forward. That mindset, commitment over wishful thinking, was already paying off in ways I couldn't have imagined. I was becoming someone who attracts opportunities.
Not just someone who dreams about them.
That's the difference between wishing and committing. Wishing keeps you stuck. Commitment makes you unstoppable. And the most important lesson I learned: wealth isn't just about money. It's about becoming the person who can handle wealth, the person who can create it, the person who doesn't give up when things get hard. Declaration of the day. I am committed to my growth and my wealth. I will take action every day, learn from every mistake, and never give up.
Part 4.
After months of consistent effort, things started to change in ways I didn't expect. It wasn't instant, and it wasn't flashy, but the results were real. One morning, I checked my accounts and realized I had more savings than I ever thought possible. It wasn't a huge fortune yet, but it was proof that my small actions were adding up. Every early morning, every late night, every lesson learned from failure, everything was creating momentum. Opportunities that once seemed impossible began to appear. People I met through networking offered collaborations. A project I had almost abandoned started gaining traction. I started seeing the truth. Wealth, like any skill, is built gradually through repeated action. It's not about luck, it's about commitment. What struck me the most was how my mindset had changed. I no longer feared failure. I no longer worried about what others thought. I no longer waited for perfect conditions. I had become someone who creates results, not someone who waits for results to happen. I also noticed changes in other areas of my life. My confidence grew. I made decisions faster. I became more disciplined, focused, and intentional. The discomfort that used to scare me now felt like a sign I was on the right path. Looking back, the biggest shift wasn't my bank balance, it was my identity. I wasn't the same person who used to wish for wealth while sitting comfortably at home. I had become someone committed, someone willing to do what most people aren't willing to do. That commitment created an unstoppable force inside me.
Now,
When I meet people who only wish to be rich, I see the difference immediately. Wishing is passive. Commitment is active. Wishing is temporary. Commitment is life-changing. And the truth is, anyone can make that choice. The moment you decide to commit, even imperfectly, you start moving in a direction most people never reach. Declaration of the day. I am committed to my growth, my wealth, and my purpose. I take action every day, embrace challenges, and never let fear stop me. Part 5. The end. Looking back on my journey, I realize how different my life would have been if I had kept wishing instead of committing. Wishing felt safe, comfortable, and easy, but it got me nowhere. Commitment was hard, uncomfortable, and sometimes painful, but it transformed everything. The truth is simple. Most people want to be rich. They say it, dream about it, and hope for it. But very few are willing to go through the discomfort, failures, and sacrifices required to actually achieve it. That's why the gap between the wishing and the committed is so huge. I learned that wealth isn't just about money. It's about the mindset, habits, and discipline you build along the way. Being committed changes who you are at your core. You stop blaming luck or circumstances. You stop waiting for permission or the perfect moment. You start acting, learning, and growing every single day.
Now.
I see commitment as a choice you make every morning. It's choosing action over comfort, learning over ignorance, and progress over excuses. And the moment you make that choice, even if it's small, you step into a path that most people never take. That's how you turn dreams into reality. Final declaration of the story. I am fully committed to my goals, my growth, and my success. Wishing is not enough. I choose action, learning, and persistence every day. The difference is clear. Wishing keeps you stuck. Commitment sets you free. And once you commit, your life will never be the same. Moral of the story. Wishing is easy. Commitment is hard. Most people want success, money, or change. But only a few are willing to pay the price to get it. True wealth, whether in money, skills, or life, comes not from hoping, but from consistent action, learning from failure, and pushing through discomfort. The moment you decide to commit, you start becoming the person capable of achieving your dreams. Dreams alone don't change your life. Commitment does. Lesson. Stop wishing. Start committing. Your results will follow. Thank you so much for listening. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Until next time, keep dreaming and never stop noticing the beauty around you.